Growing concerns this hour about a United Nations resolution requiring Syria to give up its chemical weapons stockpile. As we mentioned, the plan calls for the Assad regime to either remove or destroy its arsenal of sarin gas and other chemical weapons by the middle of next year. But this is the important part. Nowhere in this agreement if Assad fails to comply. Let's bring them back in. Jonathan Boutlier, Pat Goodell, Doug Schoen. Well, that's a big loophole.
Oh, it's a huge loophole. Bottom line, it gives the Russians and their allies, the Chinese, effective veto power on the Security Council, because under Article 7 of the UN Charter, they must approve any military action to enforce violations of the deal. And Greg, I ask you this question. Would you trust the Russians and the Syrians to fully comply with this agreement?
Well, let me answer it with a question to Pat. Did the president get snookered by Putin because the president was so desperate to get out of his line in the sand?
Yes, he was so desperate. And when I say that Putin, with Deus Ex Machina with Putin, was to set him up so that we would not be able to do anything. And so now he's driving the bus. And then we follow it up with what's going on in Iran, which is unbelievable. A country that for 30 years has been killing Americans, running terrorism and whatever.
Funding Hezbollah and Hamas.
Right. And the president's chasing the leader of Iran across New York, trying to shake his hand.
You know, John, the President Obama says a deal can be had with Tehran, but Tehran insists, and so did Rouhani in his UN speech, we will never, ever give up our uranium enrichment. Well, if they won't do that, where's the deal?
Well, first of all, this is the same man, Rouhani, who said we don't have a nuclear weapons program.
Right.
When we know of mountains inside of which are secret compartments with centrifuges spinning as we speak. I think the big picture is Assad, the mullahs, Putin, they now look at Obama in his second term as mush, and they can drive right through him. And you know what? Obama and Kerry are letting it happen.
But is this the blueprint from North Korea? We're going to keep on talking, and in the meantime, we're going to secretly develop our nuclear weapons. We're going to hide them.
It absolutely is, because bottom line, the rogue nations understand that the U.S. wants a deal almost at all costs, and somehow if we say the right words, we'll succeed. Well, they don't want to negotiate. The only thing they respond to, Greg, one word. Power. We're not showing.
Is the president's muddled speech, arguably muddled, at the United Nations sort of the toast of Tehran these days?
Yeah, I think that's the Teddy Kennedy headline in '79, which cost him the nomination, among other things. But yes, this president is being taken by every which way on these people, and they're using him because they're laughing at him. The deal is, as I said, we have a country that we know is not going to do anything, which is us, and they're developing the program. But here's the problem. Would you think the Israelis will sit back and allow their survival to be endangered? Right. With the United States caving for a deal that will do nothing other than to have a deal. It makes Neville Chamberlain. He makes Neville Chamberlain look good.
It will begin tomorrow with Netanyahu coming in.
Right. The one last point. There is no opposition. What we don't have in this country is a foreign policy message from someone, be it Republican or Democrat.
Well, speaking of the message, the Washington Post, of all news organizations, referred to the president's UN speech as the most morally crimped speech by a president in modern times. Right. Were they right?
I think they were, because while he said some good things about America being exceptional and the like, given his track record, you couldn't figure out what the red line was, what we really stand for, when we will take action. I was just befuddled by the speech.
Doug, look, here we had 4 years ago a stolen election in Iran. The president did not side with the people who had it stolen.
Green Revolution.
Right. We had a red line that he drew in Syria, completely obliterated. They keep on going. We had the government in Egypt fall. He didn't stand on either side of it and still won't decide what is going on in Egypt.
Right.
They read this as a hopeless, lame duck, mush.
No more guys on Jimmy Carter.
Out of time. Our political insiders.
On Jimmy Carter.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. You can get more from the insiders every Monday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, live.foxnews.com. They'll be back here next Sunday. Also follow them on Twitter at FN Insiders.